So we're going to go back to the text and pick up from the point that we left off in the previous session. So we started to look at the section that explains the benefits of the engaging mind of enlightenment, engaging bodhicitta. And we left off in a section that clarified doubts with respect to that. So I'll put the text in front of us on the screen and see where we left off in the previous session. So it was here. Sorry, let's close this. Okay, so clearing away doubt began with verse 28 that says, though having the wish to destroy suffering, they run directly to suffering alone. Though desiring happiness due to ignorance, they destroy the happiness like an enemy.
어디에 진짜 다들이 쪼디 간수게 다 대원 두고 요르다이네야 아니 대원 두고요 말했어 동은 두고요 말되네 동할배 아니 지 문드신다 아니 동하기 아니 지수 죽대와 아 차야기 규진 쪼 가르레스 라운디 아니 팀무기 온기리스 미시비 온기리스 그러 대원 두고요다 대위 유튜브신기요 말에 동은 두고요 말되네 동은 뽕신기 메와라 때니 아니 베디 아니 저 고돈 레데와티 디용구요레스 더도 디송고레스라
What this verse is getting at, in short, is that we want happiness, and yet we do not get what we want. We get unwished for, suffering. And we get that because of ignorance of unknowingness. So we do not know how to accomplish the happiness that we seek, and we do not know how to rid ourselves of the suffering that we do not want. This is the meaning of this verse.
사뱀바든 니말이야 자오름 지금 손주 내 만체가 다도는 슈투고연자 다도는 세요 주주여원자 세요레스 디 카드려야 자오름 지기 아니 까추레라 디데 냠도 되니 좀 좀된디기 되니 생아 아 바바체르스기 생아 엔 지준점아 아 자오충가바 아니 고르름 붙일라 소비 아니 생아 디디 아 장통의 약부여레스 디데냠도 아니 닌지 공고레 돈번이 공고레스 라운디게 가시기 생아 냠도 돈번이 간단하지 공고가 나와서 비강 장규기 생아데 베티 아니 제 강기 생아 베는 좀 된디기다 아니 생아 장기여나 아니 좀 된디 코랑 베기지 가에 메교 소리지라야 동복공고를 세우소를 고딩이 딘지 가시여서 나를 지워지당 가시 지워지온디 지워지당 따나 안지디 수냠도 잘 마시소르지 딘정이 디 아니 송하당 아니 닌지 잔주sem 동번이 공수 디 수냠도 간다지 연구연미 돌이야 당이 지마지전데 신고만되냐 강신시 지금 뭐를 치워나 아니 갑독기 펜도즈 메로 상상르치
It's honest that Dalai Lama gave teachings online over Saturday and Sunday, and we were here at our Gompa at Assembly Hall, and we were attending those teachings, and many of you, maybe all of you, were also listening to those teachings at home. So His Holiness gave teachings, but together with that, he also gave transmissions of different name mantras. So he gave a transmission of the name mantra for the Buddha, Chinrezik, for Tara, for the Great Master, Lama Tsongkhapa, for Guru Rinpoche. And having given those name mantras, it says that it's good to recite them together with compassion and emptiness. So having given that advice, Geshe had conversations with a couple of people that have asked him about how to recite those mantras together with emptiness. And Geshe got the impression that people were not sure how to do those, how to bring those two together. According to the questions that Geshe was asked, it seems that some were confused about how do you bring, for example, a meditation on, or a recitation, sorry, on the name mantra of the Buddha together with emptiness. In that, do you need to think of nothing whatsoever? Do you need to make your mind be completely empty, as if kind of nothing whatsoever exists, and like that recite the mantra? So Geshe got the impression that some people are having the difficulty in bringing those two together, combining the two together. So Geshe thought of giving some introduction to how you could do that. He himself doesn't have perfect knowledge with respect to that, but maybe it will be beneficial to some people. So maybe let's look at that.
디딘자 당간주 좀 된디 생각장 각도야 아니 다 좀 된디 고송 투기 연된디 삼고야디 내가 조지 차려래 요래스라 아니 다 엄문은 마음이 소세 그런 거 어떤 가리는 간지 아니 좀 된디 이 고송 투기 연된 된거야디 기치슈레스 아니 좀 된디 투라야 가리요레스라운디 세원 인지 친구 다 유용수 주버치 아니 세원 인지 친구 대야지 비기 초래와 zam마인 바 랑기 년다 비지 수수라야 가쇼 zam마인 바 아니 지 소차 요도 졸래야 랑기 샤다는 치비 지 부주가 제비 세원 사비 세워디 아니 좀된디 투기를 요레스 인자 디 좀된디 다 투기 연된 다 조지 디니 최 남기 인루 그 대코나니 무슨도 또비 세럽 타시마디 좀 된디기 두기 연대레스 조 디토니 아니 탑시 디니 토니 아니 남기타데니 무슨자 탐지기 동서야기 아니 탑경이 때마 초도교디 좀 된디 작은 딘지지기 토니 아니 또 오면은 마음은 소화세디 장바이나 아니 수수 좀 된데다 하진 비 셈니부 용야지 딘디지 아니 템버카든지 삼김미 켜버지려 삼비기 아니 대바당난지 다 라이 용거로스 디용고거레스
So when you recite the name mantra of the Bhagavan, the Buddha, you need to do that with reflecting upon the qualities of body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, the Bhagavan. This is a main point in the meditation on the name mantra of the Buddha. You need to know, so you're saying the mantra Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Esoa, the name mantra of the Buddha. And together with that, the most important thing is to call to mind and to think of the qualities of body, speech, and mind. And of those qualities of body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, a quality of the Buddha's mind is loving compassion that is not extended just to the one that were close to the Buddha, the one that he liked, but this quality of loving compassion that is extended to all sentient beings. And this is the type of loving compassion that we want to develop, the one that considers all sentient beings like your own flesh and blood, and extending an attitude of loving compassion to all of them equally. So the Buddha has such quality, but on top of that, the Buddha also have the wisdom that perceptually sees the way that each and every phenomenon exists, their mode of abidance. Buddha has this consummate knowledge that perfectly realizes the reality of all phenomena. So through that also, the Buddha teaches methods for sentient beings in order to liberate them from suffering. So you keep those qualities of body, speech, and mind, and particularly those qualities of mind that we have just mentioned. You think about them, and you recite the name mantra of the Buddha, and through that in your heart you draw closer and closer to the Buddha, in regarding the Buddha to be our kind teacher. You develop faith, clear faith in the Buddha through doing so.
Terdadi tabshi ni ton da sumjing dunga se goreslam da sumjing dunga da tabshi ni le ya dewa kariyor samsung ruchik. Di yungro asta ro di kandaji di dewa kariyor samsung ruchik. That di ani tande dina son de nashingi dewan dekyan timu virangi dewa tratan jongre islam di dungar ki zawadi timu laten mari walaten chagdan monson laten yungu yobadi da sevu shujres dinza dungar le torgona ani tabshigi lamni sond debe tole dungar le torgodi ani besevu chagores tandangan dungar padu meba yongde di ken kari mansang wangi dunga legores laundi tabshi mansang wangi tabshi yabuji ten matubi wangi ani ngan dunga padu meba dunga gyumeche de yungu yobade pesiures ro dinza ani dunga segona tabshi le ten gobadi ko rangshingi pigige tichagores.
So the combination of method and wisdom, suffering will be dispelled. So if you wonder, in short, what's the connection between the combination of method and wisdom and the elimination of suffering? What's the connection between them? It is just as verse 28 reads. Although wishing to be rid of misery, they run towards misery itself. Although wishing to have happiness like an enemy, they ignorantly destroy it. So as this verse says, like an enemy, they ignorantly destroy it. It is due to being ignorant, through to being confused. It is due to anger, attachment, and ignorance, the three poisonous afflictions that sentient beings end up experiencing uninterrupted flow of suffering. So in order to liberate sentient beings from suffering, we need to integrate method and wisdom. But looking at our current situation, we experience inestimable degree of suffering, a flow of uninterrupted suffering, and it is because of having incomplete integration of method and wisdom. A method is incomplete, a wisdom is incomplete. So in order then to break through this flow of suffering, we need to integrate, to bring the two, method and wisdom.
Dinza karzorda tab ninji chima mai baji yonya ya dunga da chandu ki samba chima mai baji dunga da chandu sem ting dunga da chandu yonya ya manzu dunga number song nan so di ani kyawduji dunga di dichagores mado pena dunga da chandu ki samlo tabshi di 아니 돈을 순진순진이네. 다 용구여래서 니만니만 그 동화세 탑도 콘소에 댄신 거래서. 아니 규동화 가정한주 가르치gle 취임바 배나 규동화 아니 지 원도 사담이 공부서 토야게 탑디 아니 지dem비기 람라 댄이나 용구여래서. 다 이나야 캬버드지 동화 아니 사치 레다 뉴모벌 댄이 총이 레닝왕 년선주비 찰리 트로바디 아니 텐딩이 간지 자와 니모도 제법 뽕본디비기 samlodi 아니 좀 된디기 갑자기 코너에 땡고 같이 디차가도 왔어 딘자 다 동하를 줘발이야 동하를 기자와 니모 무엇이니 니모디 겸 바시긴 봐어 딘디지 샘띵이 samlo 여바이나 아니 동하 잔득이 랑 동하를 잡은데 봐옌 동하를 잔득이 samlo 좀 많이 봐지 땡땡 연구였어레스 that dinji is any ninji any kaso that thing chupuji yongya chok sherabla muyu nesu tombi tombani tobi any sherab dinji chok mena then that ninji sam rojmato only 아니 심진 동할리 사 탈통이 탑 캬바진다 산기토비 탑 캬바진은 듀엘이야 총 셔럽래야 네버된 거자 아니 동반이 공고래서 데레스다 로 네루 타두 간지 최남기 인루 타두 데려야 제바치니 아니 상로 땅거를 숨거다
So we speak of the generation of uncontrived compassion, uncontrived wish to free sentient beings from suffering. And the main type of suffering that we consider in developing an uncontrived compassion is the third type of suffering, pervasive suffering of conditionality. We take that to be the main suffering that we consider when we develop uncontrived wish for sentient beings to be free from suffering, because when we look at the other types of sufferings that were explained, like for example, the first one, suffering of suffering, not only us as human beings have the wish to break free from that, you can see that other living beings, like for example, animals, on a day-to-day basis, they take actions in order that are oriented towards avoiding or dispelling that type of suffering. And also animals can take care of themselves in order to break free from some of those suffering. So that is not the main type of suffering that we consider. Then the second type of suffering is suffering of change. And also you can see that there are other traditions that utilize practices that employ cultivation of worldly paths in order to put a stop to suffering of change, which is the second type of suffering. So for us as Buddhists, the main type of suffering that we consider is the third type of suffering, pervasive suffering of conditionality, the contaminated, appropriated aggregate that is appropriated through a control of ignorance, which is what only the Buddha's teachings is targeting, right? So this is what needs to be stopped in order for suffering to be ceased. So you find that explanation only within the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha's precepts. So therefore, first off, we want to recognize suffering for being suffering. So once you recognize what suffering is, you see that they're solely faulty. There are only problems with suffering. There are problems for oneself and problems for others. So therefore, you also wish for yourself to be free from suffering, as well as for others to be free from such type of suffering. And you need then not only to develop that wish for yourself and others to be free from suffering, you also need to do it with the integration of wisdom. Otherwise, if you have just compassion, if you develop mere compassion without integrating it together with wisdom, you will not be able to attain the state of liberation, and you will not be able to attain the state of Buddha. So to attain Buddhahood, to attain the state of liberation, you need to accomplish that in relying upon wisdom. You need wisdom. You need wisdom that thinks of the way that phenomena exist, the mode of abidance.
dinzada ta chikpare dini pena te dinti chi samlo ji tang thubai na dini mani dang khabdule ya be eni pena ngado jina an chi senga ta chi nangi ta chidan sama chikpare was inya ani chi sem nang ya be chowat rodi mani dang na yongchia do chi ro om mani pe myong se yigi chukti tyendag thoye samji tang pe maswatene and things sabo ro odiores.
So then we have here different mantras that is honest mentions, right? So far, up until now, we spoke of the name mantra of the Buddha, but also the other mantras that is honest mentioned, and we can say that they are all of them are the same. But still, Geshe said that in terms of how they elicit certain feelings in our mind, at least Geshe said that for him personally, the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, the 6-syllable mantra, is also something that elicits this strong feeling.
Then that makes them a done makes them a down the piggy and it's so any Jizun Jambian, Power Cherry, and it's Sanji Tamji, that Nuba, and it's the Thasha, Sanda Chana Dorji, or this some gitonda, and never she had read us, right?
And similarly, there is the Mixima verse of Lama Tsongkhapa embodying Manjushri, Chenrezig, and the ability that is illustrated by Vajrapani, right? So Lama Tsongkhapa is the embodiment of those qualities of Chenrezig, Manjushri, and Vajrapani.
Then Guru Majik Sangadia and Tizichikba and Chitanta Chigi Piju Nantingi Zawa Tsuyadi and the Jawarmachi to the number Kundu there and it's Caleb Chusumki. Cardinal then Chori son there Tiris Tinza, the Kanji and it Zo Tusa the Drango Tusadi and Sanji Tembalia to the Yoba Tindich, a Sanji Tembas Lound, so and the Londoni did Nani and Toby Temba and Labasum Yamsulens, Tirikana and Drogo to us, but Dindriji Tony. Any that's Sanga Dambaina. Chanju Sem, Tombo and Ninji Gomia, and Tombani Slaundi, Chadang Tony Sati, and it should Tamji Tindu, Tebi Namsha, Nilu Yobati. It should contradict in the Gomna and Digores, should congict in the Gomia Yores. In a zoo, the Chiksam Penchish, the Susu Lunga Yixum Tolia, Jarni, and it round the Meba, and it tangent Javan Yinsu Tony. And Dominic to Santana, and Nilu Tela Papturi, and Mariba Seturis, and Chadan Goturis, the Diredos Ra.
And then also is honest mention Guru Rinpoche, who has a particular contact relation with the Tibetan tradition. So in the Tibetan tradition, at some point in time came this trinity of the Dhamma King, the Master, Shantarakshita, and the
Transcendency.
Yeah, transcendency. Ani Shivatsotan
Kamala.
So Kamala Shila, Shantarakshita, and Tritsundetsen, the Dhamma King. So this is the trinity of the abbot, the master, and the Dhamma King. So that depended upon the Buddha's teaching. Right? Whatever they did in Tibet can be traced back to the teachings of the Buddha, which are teachings as scriptures and teachings as realizations, teachings as scriptures, teaching the 3 collections, the 3 Pitakas of teachings, which teach the 3 trainings as the subject matter. And in those teachings, you find teachings on the emptiness of all phenomena, which you meditate on, right? So you meditate on emptiness, and you can meditate on emptiness with respect to all phenomena, each and every phenomenon, whatever phenomenon you want to take as the subject that you observe through meditating on emptiness, it is totally fine. But the thing that is closely related to us is ourself, right? So meditating on our own selflessness, our own emptiness, in that we do not exist independently. We are dependent arising. So as selves, as persons, we arise in dependence on and in relation to others. And when you meditate on emptiness in relation to yourself, you can then use that in order to put a stop to ignorance, to put a stop to anger, attachment, and so forth that arise from ignorance.
Tedrim baby devotoja dungapon nubi dedu gi tolna rani kibo mayinam yen ki ti töndu zön jishi goshi na ngibar zomba chagodi simjan na dungar tor debi sem yegyam nyumbi onki dungar gi gyumbashi debi kowa tameda ngansung gi dungar ngomba gyula dewan degen teda gi tabla monshi timu bi jowe rangi dewa dadam jowe tsurki dedu gi tabla lobashi bi seros.
So looking at Geshe Rinpoche's commentary, so the layout of this commentary is not similar to the layout of the layout of the English translation is not similar to the layout of the Tibetan text. So first of all, verse 28 says, though having the wish to destroy suffering, they run directly to suffering alone, though desiring happiness due to ignorance, to destroy the happiness like an enemy. So before going into the next two verses, Shantideva Geshe Rinpoche says that Shantideva raises a question. Sentient beings wish for happiness and do not wish suffering. And by striving in this way, they're able to achieve happiness and abandon suffering. Therefore, are they not proficient in the practice of achieving happiness and abandoning suffering? Why should others strive for the purpose? In answering that, it says, one definitely needs to strive. Although sentient beings have the intent to abandon suffering, through the power of the afflictions, they only create the causes for suffering. They run infinitely in cyclic existence, and especially towards the suffering of the lower realms. Though they wish for happiness, they are confused concerning the method for happiness, and out of ignorance, they destroy their own happiness if it were their enemy. In this way, they engage mistakenly in the methods for achieving happiness and avoiding suffering.
Terzadina yovana shiret ni rangi dewa dadran jombi tsugi sedi ni kanji di tabla mombi wangi ani rangi dewa dadran jomjo gores. Tinza rangi gyulaya kanji rangi gi dunga segu yobata rangi laya dewa jongu yona devi gyu ani tabshi temko bata dunga segu yona dunga gyu ani nimuto so pango yobadi 아니 무여 차고레스 진짜 난주지 아니 혼남 잡았zam기 난주지 좀 세투 말레스 담 뭔가 세야기 약슈디 아니 탑시 고미야디 닌지 고미야 아니 셔럽 고미야디 돈이 곰 수나마지나 아니 셔럽 고미야디레스 셔럽 슬라운드 조 랑기 남주 아니 야기 땅야들에도 왔으라 가주 그 남주 여바이나 디 속이 아니 몸비 샤원도 조금 말아왔어 몸비 on the 손에 차단 공기 동아 용주디 좀 조그러 왔어 어디래 생아사 좀 된데려야 소았다 랑기 쩌빌라마라야 소았다기 따길이야 디다 냠도 답시기 닌지데 잔주고 쌤 동문이 또베 새로 공부이나 랑귤에 끼투고요레스 가즈나 아니 난주 차츠사 초반 표사기 육조디 산지 창선 랑기 짜위라마 디디 차고 오라스 텔레에 소함은 답 차춤이 지원디 쏘는 거 조조고 여봐 대단념도 닌지다 비 돈이 공원디 아니 이식 조조고 여봐 손이 조발 때는 아니 산지 공부 주고도 왔으라
So, as it says here in this verse, though having the wish to destroy suffering, they run directly to suffering alone. Though desiring happiness due to ignorance, they destroy their happiness like an enemy. So, if one wants to cultivate happiness, then one needs to create the causes for happiness, right? One needs to use the methods for cultivating the causes for happiness. If one does not wish for suffering, one needs to eliminate the causes of suffering, which are common afflictions. If one wishes to avoid suffering or to be liberated from suffering, they need to abandon karma and afflictive states of mind. And we do that through the combination of the method of compassion, bodhicitta, together with the wisdom of selflessness, the wisdom of emptiness. And of the two, method and wisdom, the principal thing that destroys afflictions, particularly ignorance, is the wisdom of selflessness. So this is the main thing that we need to focus. And when we say that we need to focus on, and when we say wisdom, what we refer to is the increase of our intelligence. If you increase your wisdom, if you increase your intelligence, you diminish the darkness of ignorance. You undermine ignorance and make it weaker and weaker. So in order then to make that happen, we combine method and wisdom. So we then make supplications to the Buddha, to the root Lama, that is to the Buddha that is in nature, with inseparable from the root Lama, or the root Lama that is in nature inseparable from the Buddha. So we make those supplications to Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, to the root Lamas, in integrating in our practice method and wisdom, compassion, the mind of enlightenment, and the wisdom of selflessness, the wisdom of emptiness. And when we integrate it in this way, we contribute to the two accumulations, the two collections. So we contribute to the accumulation of merit. And also through wisdom that realizes selflessness, we contribute to the accumulation of exalted wisdom, exalted knowledge. And when we complete those two collections, we thereby attain the state of complete Buddha.
Tadini kanshik deven phombata dungar manda manden tedala devakunji tsimbata dungar tamji chok chechi temugyan sechepa teda genson kalayos the chanju semle da ani gewalab chech ani mebati sungor da dire.
So then, looking at the next section of the text, verse 29 in the first two lines from verse 30 read, though that are destitute of happiness and have many sufferings, I shall satisfy them with every happiness and remove all their suffering. I shall also eliminate their ignorance. Where else is something as virtuous? There is nothing that surpasses that in terms of the strength of virtue. So then after that it says, for that reason, what virtue is equal to the mind that wants to satisfy sentient beings who are confused about the methods of happiness and the suffering, and who lack happiness and have many suffering? What virtue, with all the happiness of high status and definite goodness, wants to cut the continuity of all suffering and clear the ignorance that is confused with regards to what is to be practiced and what is to be abandoned?
Tendi shigyan kalayos, sonum tenda kalayos, tagaranda bena re.
Likewise, the last two lines in this section says, where else is such a friend? Where else is such merit?
Pemba tamji drujin, neba tamji li gyobi, tendi gita, telitaga gibi shingin seda, ani chik chudo sech. Chokpo sechi ta yomarwas jen kalayos laundry nentada shinji malopa tembi sonum tenda jen kalayo maybe chanju chodu semke balan bebar chawos.
So just to complete the reading of the commentary, it says at the end, what other friend is there that establishes all happiness and rescues from all suffering? What other merit is there that shows correctly what has to be practiced and what has to be abandoned? There is none. That is why one should strive to generate the mind of enlightenment.
Chanjusim gombi kanzala tebala sum maju yinji chembe tani chokzebe kabarwe batan pemba chonse jebala tebawena 펜덴타다 드발라 칭하버버바타 신초도 교회 가버버스 담보 마제 힌지 침부 자네 총제비 가버버바니 펜닥 랜도 카임바 대야리신 하웨나 마주 레버 체바이 전주선범 휴주구스.
So we're currently looking at a section on reflecting extensively upon the benefits of bodhicitta, which consists of 4 points. And now we're going to cover the 4th point, right? So just to remind you, the first point was explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. The second was identifying the nature of bodhicitta. The third that we've just completed was the reasons there are such benefits. And now we're going to look at praising the person who cultivates bodhicitta. And there are 3 main points to that section. The first one is if they are worthy of praise because even though they have not been entrusted with such a task, by drawing upon great compassion, they act to assist others. The second is if someone who accomplishes the slightest of benefit is worthy of compliments, someone who accomplishes all benefit and bliss is worthy of the highest praise. And the third point that we'll cover was they are worthy of praise because they are the supreme field. Let's begin with verse 31 that says, they are worthy of praise because even though they have not been entrusted with a specific task, by drawing upon great compassion, they act to assist others. So our text says, suitable for praise because of helping out of compassion without being asked. If any repaying of benefit is momentarily praiseworthy, what need is there to mention the Bodhisattva that does good without being asked to?
Telda di tagara bena penta lendo kain ba den rising hawe na songi ani nganzu jidang gin jigde yongdala ya ji sosepa ani pendo che yabu che jaba delaya ji su di training sud ani namgyu yabu den la soba kanji su ji training jamani ani medi ji gyuda yabata mi yabu yimba an sending yimba an jilaya tyonga chigyoros len loba tsamlaya be ani shudenga chiyoras timji len tsawni len da rewala ya tsawni ni mebala ya ani same thing pigila ya ani pendo chingedela delikya ani kabo barwas ro chanju semba singedela ya pa kazuski ani karsu taji dogja chebayina ya marab chebayina ya sulaya Tigi Lenaya be Gashi Trushendu Tandu Leni Ani Pendo Nandingi Kansajilata be any what Joya Menamado Jogosagu that Yulchik Chagior was.
In the world, if something is benefiting you, is helping you, then in order to reciprocate their kindness, you praise them. We consider those people to be good people, excellent people. So when we react to them helping us, we praise them. We speak about the good qualities. So what about bodhisattvas who help others even without being asked to? So if in the world, people that give you help if you ask them to help you out and they help you are people that are praiseworthy. What need is this to speak about bodhisattvas who help others without being asked to? And even more than that, when they help others and when they encounter in return someone that behaves badly, someone of bad manners, to still interact with that person with a sense of joy, with a sense of delight. They do not shy away from helping that person. They react to that with mental joy. So if there is an object of praise, bodhisattvas would be a sole object of praise.
Redadini Machu labor chebai Chanju Sama Music Set, the Chibare, Ninja Dreven Naloya, Chanju Samba Nala, Tejan Kavar Chava Indi, jigde nang har pen tabal len to ba khain ba delaya ani cheba su bi kewi no she rishin khabo no ma je yin ji chen bu tan level cheba pen de ta da dribi chanju samba harmi jibe khabo ba bi ju gu she bo
So we read through verse 31 that says, if any repaying of benefit is momentarily praiseworthy, what need is there to mention the Bodhisattva that does good without being asked to? One should praise and eulogize Bodhisattvas. In worldly terms, someone that repays a kindness is praised, saying, that is a grateful person. What need is there to mention the Bodhisattvas who achieve all happiness and benefit out of compassion without being asked to, are worthy of praise by gods and humans?
Dan iban pemba chungse dribala tebawena pende thada dribala chinga bawebanes ra dadi saji korangi tsikdele niba shudo asra drawa nyonse nami se jorwa kechi se tsam jimba chebata nichi ninche thangbar chebayang gyawa chebayin shi kewikur simjen thanda yela turin devar shiki devalana me yela samba thada zo cheba tadu jimba tashi myejugus.
Let's move on to the second point in that section that explains how a person having bodhicitta is suitable to be praised. So the second point comes under the heading of even small benefit is praiseworthy, then achieving all happiness and benefit is even more praiseworthy. And Geshe says that the two verses that are covered by this section are of great power. Even giving scornfully just one ration of worldly food, which lasts only half a day, to a few migrators is praised by beings, saying it is an act of virtue. What need is there to mention the continual generosity of working to complete all mental intentions, the highest happiness of the Tathagatas for countless sentient beings for a long time?
Derdadezo tsigdozo chedan thabu yomarwas deni lagdon de tezo sama pe nganzule ya chi nyamnyung gu ton nyamnyung yobato su pe la jani son dige ani ko debu wadinri redo asra pena ani chi minyon she jila ya chi nyamtha nyon she jila ya ani khazi tujik te bayna nganzu ta media wo shu de samba sambu do chi segro asra ta dit sam mayimba 지 아니 니마 쳇자 마임바 지 샤단 카시자 마임바 아니 지 깨와라야 아니 펜도 요딩이기 아니 펜디 드딩이기 삼바징기 다 전주 샘디 아니 땅원에 잔이 나봐봐 봐 지금 왔은 거다.
This verse is easier to understand, but not only that, we can also relate it to our own personal experience and see how, based upon a personal experience, we can understand the meaning of this verse. So if someone that gives something, that gives some pieces of food, limited pieces of food to a small group of people that need, the destitute, we would praise that person and say, if they do it for half a day, we would praise that person and say, the person is such a good person, so benevolent. So how then would it be for bodhisattvas who work from one lifetime to the next, from life to life, in engendering the benefit and joy, the benefit and happiness of others, in continuing to benefit others without being asked
to? 아니지 니마직 비다지 니마직라야 쇼페 닝궁 공다세기 뒤숨 치비지 쇼베 기진라야 아니지 기부 지초야지다 아니지 머제 칸자라야 아니 기부 초야지 짐바니고디 드르바이나타 머제 칸자라야 기부 초와디 베디 아니 셀레 게와직 차고라스 베나 딘리더레다 세 뒤치 짐바디 제단 야고레스 베네 수수 파마긴고로지라야 잘란로 니마치라야 지사니마 답디 파마긴고 수케단 콜레야 아니 칼라 뒤직 잡았디 다 약보레스 라 이내야 파마 겐거디 지 메제 간살라야 지 삼모 땅 유교 삼모 땅사 유교 로데고 소토바인 베티 아니 ganjur tongjur di yaga yorwas dinza ta nganzu chi nangchu nyamlen chingi ji ngoni samlo ding ngibar tango dosra dingibar tangje susu gi nangchu jang be la ya chi semla pengi shibo gi jang susu gyo de jang di gi tabdi ani mishibi gi ta chi pama gengo zui ani mishibi gi simje nyam tawa dosla ya labaina ani 카즈레 베트디타 아니 페체요라스 진들 팽그리 개와 치말의 팽그리 체력 탐지도 팽거라스 그래서 딘지 상도단지 아니 간주 쫀주 장바이나 되니 장위 점제 대한 아니 소수 미친 디나노야 점제만 받지 다 소투사로 왔으라
So think about, for example, giving some food to people that need once a day. Or think about it doing 3 times a day in the morning. Provide them with lunch and also provide them with breakfast. That would be great, right? But then think of not doing it only for one day, doing it for the rest of their life. So it would be manifold, hundreds or thousands of times greater than doing it only for one day, right? So then when we think of how do we relate to that, drawing upon a personal experience. So think about, for example, taking care of your aging parents, calling them up for lunch or preparing them food once a week on Sunday. So, of course, that would be great. But think about then how much greater would it be if you were to do it for the rest of their life, right? Every day. That would be, of course, hundreds of thousands of times greater. And we certainly need to benefit them in this way. So we need then to we need to see how taking up an attitude like that or a practice like that is something that is not only benefiting them, but it is also bringing benefit to the mind. So then we consider sentient beings to be just like our aging parents. Sentient beings are ignorant, and due to not knowing, not understanding, they end up experiencing a variety of suffering. So we think of benefiting all those sentient beings. And that will bring about great benefit, not only in this life, but also in future life, in all our future lifetimes. So in order to do that, we study and train in what Shantideva says here in his guide to Bodhisattva way of life, and through that, we will get that benefit.
어디에 딘자 당간주기 추 아니 베드 찬축샘 장야 아니 동반이 장야 어디서 아니 소수 장바디 다 태고 침부추인자 소수 지구체도 많이 봐 진짜 탐지기 체도다 다 인고로 왔어라 다 아니 디면은 태고 침부추 차기요 말에 딘자 다 인고기요인자 다 쪼디 자직 장기 파미 쪼베기 다 심장 탐지래야 다다제 투고고라서 딘자 강제시 율디 추파가 못해서기 율디 다지 소소 파마 있는다 지 소소 롬베 미 있는다 아니 미춘이 몸미싱인지 미 있는다 갑투라야 자원이니 케만내나야 디 암주 나노파 룩투바 잠지기 니삼나 아니 개월납치 쇼지 사기요레스 사고레스
Onchalo karalo.
암주나 최트바 시트와나 냉가티.
So then we study and practice bodhicitta, emptiness, and we do that in conjunction with the Mahayana Dhamma. And when we do it as Mahayana Dhamma practices, we're not doing it solely for our own sake. We do it for the sake of all sentient beings. Otherwise, if we were to put it into practice in only thinking of our own sake, our practice will not be a practice of the Mahayana Dhamma. So then we need to consider all sentient beings as like being our parents. We need then to consider all of them with a sense of concern, our parents, the people that belong to the same area, to the same country in us, and think of benefiting them. So that, for example, through teaching the Dhamma, even if they do not understand what you're saying, then you're pouring those Dhamma teachings into their ears. Geshe reckons that this is a great benefit.
제 간주기 단다 내된 다좀바 바보 고중 가진 간주 가진님직 주시는 거 공당보 랍도 좀 딱지 로 게줄을 레미카들이야 랍도 좀딱 로지처스 그래서 다가스 지금 카데오 지금 쇠자고 싸우니 이기 말했어 그랬더니 당보 랍도 좀 지금 바보 샤리 보이나 뭔가 보이네 지금 슈디게 아니 계란귤이야 타와찬도 게자문도 계란귤 너무 끼고 말했어 손진더니 너무 제가 말했어. 그것도 아니 남가지고 쓸어야 답에 아니 비 다치 게임이 유고 gengocha 벤주 메주 차디 아니 게임이 야마게 다 gengocha 다 아니 지 랍도 총사로디네 아니 다 지금 아니 다좀부터 소기야 아니 dom바지로 마치 또시 다 시오지 이겨신 아니 남가지고 수가야 데디비 깝질이야 아니 산지 좀 되는 수표 어디더니 걔랑 가르쳐서 쓰든지 난 그거다 내당 찬산 쉬운데 계란귤에 타와찬도 계산 두스 계란 잡도 좀 초그레스 타와찬도 계산이 가두사도스레디 코랑 미지티 나라라야 젬비 카둘이야 아니 셴바 체친 아니 따지 돈도 짱짱 세트업친 아니 게임 보고 써야라 서고 코랑 미지투스 게데 다 미세텔에 메네야 개운 하마질이야 아니 파크비 류랑 갑질이야 아니 미지기 냠도 그도 순조치는 초된질이야 꼬라직 테비오레스 디 게자디 아니 타바차도 게자래 결진 될 때는 좀 된디다 아니 dombatogundu so dindi lorgiores ta anchi khaya masam chi matheba tagas ani phagbi kewaji thoni chodenjile korachik theba chamgi tawa chadun gezan jugiyona chanchug samda chik tombani tobi sherabgi pheyu kobadida delikyang ani gezalabo chimbadi ta rigbedu chogdo asra.
And it's Geshe related a few days ago the story of one of the Arhats, Arhat called Puchung, that reached the age of 80, then became a monk, and on that basis attained the state of an Arhat. It's not just a nice story, kind of nice or kind of this nice way of storytelling. The story itself tells about this person, this elderly person that asked Shariputra and Magaliputra to ordain him. And they looked at him and said that he doesn't have any roots of virtue that are compatible with liberation. Those roots of virtue compatible with liberation are those which are were necessary in order for him to become ordained. And they said that since he doesn't have any of them, it will not be possible for him to become ordained. So he was fairly depressed in receiving that news. He was earlier on discarded by his family. So he was living outside, he was staying outside by the side of the road. He was completely deflated. And then he encountered the Buddha, the Bhagavan. And the Buddha asked him, why was he sitting by the side of the road in such a depressing state? And he answered that he doesn't have any roots of virtue roots of virtue that are compatible with liberation. The Buddha looked at him and said that actually he did have such roots of virtue. In that life, previously, he acted as a butcher, killing many animals. But then in one of his previous life, he said that that person was a pig and he was led by another person around the stupa. So although it was done without thinking about it, without intending to circumambulate the stupa, to go around the stupa. It was led by another person. Still, even that action contributed to an accumulation of a root of virtue compatible with liberation. So if that is the case, if that is true, even more so, we can then use that in order to prove that the virtue of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, in conjunction with the wisdom of emptiness, the wisdom of selflessness, would be so much greater than that.
Continuam the Delaya, and the Gogingo Charles on the Gaming, Yagamundo, Sozulega Chima to the Boson, Tsuyoya Mato, Pa Pento Maras, and Benami Yakor Jagamundo, She Girasra.
It was probably complaining at the time to the Buddha. He said that he reached that old age, and his family was not treating him as well. His wife was ignoring him. Unless he goes to see his kids, they wouldn't come to see him themselves. It probably was kind of conveying all of that to the Buddha.
That lended touching Tawaki, Namsha Chimachis Siltubi, and it can be stopped. Sanjila Madonga Maris, Papa Charibuda, Mongoji Pula Sobalaya, Big Lenji Touch Tawadi, the Sigma Tuanza, and Quigulaya, and Tawachadu Gezayovata, Sigma was. Tinza, and that Jingoni Simjenki, and Dungan Simjen Tadaki, Dungan Tadasea, Devalanameva Druyaki, and it tapped Tungindi. Sanjin Yaji Madi, but the Ritonda, droop to Gores. These are that's some jing Dunga Sanji Komachi, Matana Tamidu Sambiki, and somebody the Chanchuk Sem Chagoras Ra.
Seeing and understanding all the ins and outs of karma, all the subtleties of karma, is something that only a Buddha has. Only a Buddha has that knowledge. So then, thinking about this story, Shariputra and Magaliputra didn't have the knowledge, didn't have the seeing of those roots of virtue that were compatible with liberation, that were necessary for that person to become ordained. They didn't see that, but the Buddha did. So the elimination of all suffering, the ability to eliminate all suffering, to accomplish unsurpassed happiness for sentient beings is something that only the Buddha can, only the Buddha has. And therefore, we can think that for me, there is no other way of moving forward, of proceeding, other than pursuing the state of Buddhahood. Through that, we develop bodhicitta.
These are any Zodi, Ganjata, Jimmy Parsin seg, Jimmy Parsin seg, that Sachimuti. Then Jimmy Parsin and Zodi, and Chugi Jimbati, Jimby Nani, Chodi, Chugi Jimbati, Yimbatita, and the Mumukuba Redos, Ra, Pena, Jinshi Chan, Jinshi Zechan, so to Katsu, Siki, and it's Milaya, Jimbainaya, Zawanin, Zoya Meba. Zoya Meba Samase, Mang Dragon Rochi, Milaya, Samananda, told Chukatsuki, Shetuba, Titsugi, and Susugi, Chugi, and Shizeti, Yagidodos, Zoya Zawinimados, and Mikatsus Lepa, Jabana, Dinanshinkita, Kanji Zonta Magic. Then Pento Tian, Nimachi, Twitchik Zamaimba, and Mitse Kanzalaya, Samlo Tansa Yuku, Pento Yoba. Mitsetsa Mase, Giovanni Geo Ginchin, Kanji Sangi Combo Matu Sunjalaya, and Pentotunging, and Jimbajik Chagdos, Dinza, and Chuki Jimba, Jimbanami Chori, Sadi, go and Piggy, Sitsa Maimba, Tenle Samutana, Choyimbati, Manju Drew to us. And also we practice generosity, such a precious practice. And of the different types of generosity that we practice, the supreme one is generosity of
giving the Dhamma. So when you practice generosity of giving the Dhamma, what you give the Dhamma is inexhaustible. And when you start doing it, you can increase it more and more. It expands, it increases, it magnifies more and more. And through that, you improve the knowledge and the understanding of others. It is inexhaustible in that it's not that you do it only one time or in one day. You can do it day after day for the duration of one's life. Not only that, it can bring about benefit, not only for one occasion, one day, it can bring a benefit, provide a benefit for someone for the duration for the rest of the life. And not only that, also in the next lifetime, in a succession of lifetimes, even all the way to their attainment of Buddhahood. And therefore, it is said that though giving is such a precious practice, of the different types of giving, generosity of giving the Dhamma is supreme.
Pemba chung ninche chambar chebaya, gewa jimbi, jinda chenpo yinshi, gewe sona, shin gyacheva, simjen chang taye bala, ko chisigi, tuyu rindu, jinshi ngubu kebar paba, devar shiki, sava mebe, devalana meba, tershen. Pendo ji kebar, yila samba tada zoba cheba, jorwa kubata chipi, tuyu tatu jimba cheba, kuwa weba, 다시 뮤주고 되나 샘다 뎀비 샘피 다지 남주에 뎀바 로스르본 네바 뜻송거라 샘다 뎀비 잔주 샘바가 찌지도 그거 제바 위시 somebody's.
We read through verses 22 and 23, and looking at the commentary of Geshe Dhammarinchen, it says, in what attempt someone that gives inferior ordinary food in an inferior manner, with scorn and not with praise, to a small number of beings such as 100, and the food is even only enough for half a day, such a person will be regarded by the people as a great sponsor who practices virtue. What need is there to mention that someone that continually gives the superior object, the highest uncontaminated happiness of the Tathagatas, with a special benefit that it satisfies each and every thought, a respectful manner to the expansive field of innumerable sentient beings for as long as cyclic existence remains is praiseworthy. Therefore, one should have single-pointed respect for the Bodhisattvas that have this mind, that has this intelligent and impartial mind.
chanju semba tanga jinga bo yosa ta shincho de gyo yin zang bo yo sum chanju semba la chu se zang yan me ba mi ri bi gyun sen dang de ba gong ri bi gyun sen de na chang se shi gyao sun zhou yo bo dang bo chanju semba la chu se zang yan me ba mi ri bi gyun sen di kan shi den di ya se jin da la ka de ngen sum ge ba che ba de ngen sum ge bi chang shi ge wa ni nyewa ne ban gyu shin tun be song.
So we're still looking at the fourth point in explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. Now, in explaining, the fourth point was divided into three main sections, and now we're going to cover the third one, which is praiseworthy because of becoming the supreme field. That also has a few parts. The reason why it is unsuitable to be even a little disrespectful to Bodhisattva, that will be the first point that we'll cover in verse 34. Then the reason why it is suitable to meditate on faith. And the last one would be they are worthy of praise and refuge. Let's begin with verse 34, coming under the heading of the reason why it is unsuitable to be even a little disrespectful to Bodhisattva. It reads, in case one generates negative minds towards one Bodhisattva patron like this, one needs to remain in the hells for eons, equaling the number of negative minds the Buddha taught.
Terda direta kanshi tindi gyasi jindas lawan da ngone gi gyasi jinda ti chagi do asra simjan tamjela ya ani chi tyuki chi samye yo meba tyu ta to pegi ani chujin tumindi ani chanju samba chagwanza da ngone gi jimbi dagodi chanju samba yimadi da ko som tangso yujire dos iza dindi ge ngaba webegi yul tindi chila ya 다 년섬 장바이나 아니 네버 치바이나 다 디게 베 아니 년섬 기비기 튀기 베기지 아니 깨지 참 장기 링이야 아니 가주 거기에나 디 링이야 아니 녀와라 네고 마세 까위 바도 네고 그랬어 고그랬어 다 딘디기 베 아니 디버치 모르겠어.
So this section highlights the great negativity in developing a harmful intent towards a bodhisattva. So a bodhisattva here is considered to be a great patron, a patron for sentient beings in not moving away for even an instant from the thought of benefiting other living beings. So since they do not stray away for even a second from the intent to be of benefit to others, if you think about it, they are real patrons of sentient beings. So if you develop a harmful intent towards such a person that is so invested in the benefit of others, even if you do it just for a brief moment, for a short span of time, your detention in hell will not be short. It would be for eons over eons, eons on end. Such a great negativity.
레다 디 딘디기 가르슨 다 딕바 쳔부지 가르신 차바레스 라 만주 빼남 부질라야 네버 쳔나 딕바 여바다 찬주 셈바질라야 녜섬 짱바이나 아니 딕바디 따치 아니 간진 직댕 감도 무쇼 못다베 딕바 쳔부 딘디 여바 캬바디 가르친 쇼바레스 당간주 예 지와지 여바이나 아니 텔레 챌린지
So then think about it. Raise questions. Like, for example, why is it such a great negativity? You can kill a fly or just have a harmful thought, a harmful intent about a bodhisattva. And having a harmful thought towards a bodhisattva is said to be so much greater than killing another living being, killing an insect, for example. It is said that this negativity is so great that you wouldn't be able to contain that within your mind. It is inconceivable in that sense. So what makes it such a great negativity?
Tadi chidangi ta gyunzen mambu shuji ta yores ra ta sama shuda shutu mara da ina chok chik zambu shubayna penam bujila ya ne bayina ne sum chambayina kol ne se tambayina kugi butti gi semgamla ya pogor mado ani simjin shingi semgamla ya pendila ya tetsamgi pennu drog marwas ra 다 chanju sambadi simchen tamjigi namkada nyambi simchen tamjigi pendigi zawachin shuyoyenza telennena simchen tamjile tembigi pendigi zawalaya never drogoras.
So there are many reasons that you can use in order to see how developing that harmful intent towards a bodhisattva would be such a great negativity. Like, for example, you can think that if you were to harm an insect, fly and the like, then you have a harmful intent, then you follow it up by harmful action, you will harm that insect, but you will harm that particular insect, you will not inflict harm upon other insects, for example. Whereas if you have a harmful intent towards a bodhisattva with intent on the welfare of all sentient beings that reach to the limits of space, that extend to the limits of space, then through that you undermine the benefit of all those sentient beings. In that sense, you're harming the benefit and happiness of all sentient beings that extend to the reaches of space when you intend to harm the patron of those sentient beings.
Rama nganzu chik michu semgam lo nebata, michi semgam lo nebani chena, michu semgam lo nebati, nyeba chewa rawasta, changi chane, kanji chane, chewa rawas. Tinza pugu chiyongi ama chidam, pugu chigmado mingi ama nimodi, ama imban chona ya, konila ya neba chetan chigba chena ya, mi mambu semgam lo pogmo boke, keba yorwasta dire.
So when you're thinking of harming the mind of one person or harming the minds of 10 persons, well, think about it in the following way. You have a mother of 10 versus a mother of 1. So if you harm the mother, you can say that it is equal in terms of harming a mother. And yet, if you harm a mother of 10, the harm that you bring is much greater than harming a mother of 1. You will thereby also bring harm to 10 children, 10 other people. So similarly, when you think of harming the minds of others, if you harm the mind of bodhisattvas that are intent on the welfare of such a great number of beings, you also harm those great number of beings. So this is it. Just a limited explanation of that. Shall we leave it here for now? Okay. So let's put the prayers on the screen. Yododa lama sande drugune rovachi nyamale pade salago borasho Rinpoche magi panu kegyoji kyoganya bame payang kone kondo borasho Kowe shingamsu penang dewa madu chungwe chenre sewa tensi gyatso Shabe sindi bardo tengyuroji Jamshi jamgun gyawe tenzi gyombe wengonso dubozi Chosum kowe re manjugyo Panyaso dujigwando Shanti Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Geshe.
Shambhala. Shambhala.
Też dele Geshe.
Yesterday.
Kalau lagi hapusah.
Thank you, Geshe.
Ela que hapusah. Aha.
Retro, still there? Yes.
I didn't know that.
Hello. Iris, you can see. You can see it's very dull and dark. That's why I say come close. Sorry.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, there's, I don't recognise that position over there as my
talk because everything like yeah, well,
Hello.
Here, come
that's
see.
what I'm getting because
Henry Park.